It's a sad story, but we're gonna pay tribute to a guy that we both loved.
Adore.
Loved. Actor Don Knotts, who died on Friday at the age of 81. Known so well, of course, as Barney Fife and Andy Mayberry, Andy Griffith show.
Don Knotts made us laugh for decades. Yet the man behind the high-pitched voice and nervous charm lived a life few truly knew. How did a shy boy from West Virginia rise to become one of television's most beloved comedians? And what secrets lingered after the spotlight faded? Nearly 2 decades after his passing, family revelations shed new light on his remarkable journey. From his days plucking chickens to his iconic turn as Barney Fife, this is the untold story of Don Knotts, his struggles, service, and humanity behind the humor. Rumors confirmed after death. Nearly 2 decades after Don Knotts passed away, long-hidden stories about his life have finally come to light, confirmed by his family and close associates. For years, fans only knew him as the high-strung, lovable deputy Barney Fife, or the eccentric Ralph Furley. But behind the scenes, Knotts guarded a private life that was far more complex. Rumors swirling since his death suggested there was more to the man than the comedic mask he wore. And now, his family has shed light on several of these mysteries. The revelations invite a re-examination of his legacy, not just as a comedian, but as a man who faced personal struggles and unique challenges. These confirmed truths stretch beyond the usual tales of fame and success. They reveal moments of hardship, perseverance, and vulnerability that contrast sharply with the light-hearted image many remember. For example, Knotts' upbringing and family dynamics shaped him in ways that influenced both his career and personality. The admissions also touch on lesser-known aspects of his professional life, including decisions and experiences that were concealed during his lifetime. The family's openness offers fans a rare glimpse at the full tapestry of his existence. Among the whispered stories that have gained attention are Knotts' relationship with his early career choices, his approach to personal setbacks, and the turbulence in his home life. These are narratives that warred quietly with the public's perception, but now help paint a richer, more truthful portrait. It is evident that his resilience was born from more than just natural talent. It was nurtured by overcoming adversity. These confirmed rumors invite us to see Knotts not simply as a legend of comedy, but a human being shaped by experience and complexity. The verification of such rumors also deals with Knotts' lasting impact on Hollywood and how his personal struggles affected the cheer he created. Knowing these concealed facts could increase the value of his work and the power of his art. Knotts was still very successful, but he kept a certain distance, which makes the posthumous revelation even more interesting. It recalls that we are always to find an untold star story behind every beloved celebrity waiting to be told. The family's revelations, while fans are still celebrating his iconic characters, challenge us to identify the man behind the roles. These disclosures provoke us to consider the sacrifices and struggles that, though often unnoticed, are very common in the lives of public figures. They suggest a legacy that is not only about entertainment, but also embraces themes of endurance, vulnerability, and authenticity. This complex characterization prompts us to watch the whole of Knotts' life, rather than just the parts scripted for laughs. Don Knotts' early life was marked by hardship and shaped by circumstances that left lasting impressions on his character. Early life and family struggles. Jesse Donald Knotts was the youngest of 4 sons in a family touched by hardships few would expect from a future comedy legend. His father, William Jesse Knotts, was a farmer who faced a debilitating struggle with schizophrenia and alcoholism, which led to a nervous breakdown near the time of Don's birth. This mental illness brought fear and unpredictability into the household, sometimes manifesting in frightening confrontations that deeply affected young Don. Despite these challenges, his mother, Elsie Lucette, raised the boys with quiet strength, running a boarding house to support the family after his father's decline. The trauma of growing up with a mentally ill and unstable parent profoundly shaped Don's personality, teaching him early how to protect himself by turning inward. His father's unpredictable behavior, including moments when he threatened young Don with a knife, instilled a cautious, guarded nature. This internal resilience would later become a defining trait, surfacing subtly in the nervous energy Don harnessed as a performer. The family's struggles underscored a childhood far from idyllic, marked by emotional difficulties hidden behind a veneer of simple small-town life. Adding to the family's hardships, Don's eldest brother Earl died of pneumonia when Don was only 13, casting a shadow over his adolescence. This loss, coming at a formative age, deepened the family's emotional challenges, but also strengthened the bond between Don and his remaining brothers, who remained close under their mother's care. Elsie's role was pivotal, preserving stability amid chaos until her passing in 1969. Through these early experiences, Don learned the value of perseverance and quiet endurance, qualities that would inform both his life and art. On the other hand, Don's troubled upbringing did not diminish the charm he later developed to win over millions. He went through a lot in his childhood, but the trials were mostly kept secret from the public. Nevertheless, they formed the emotional basis of his humorous timing and the ability to connect with the audience who were facing their own problems. This very situation of private suffering and public laughter created a stronger impact of his work. Knowing these connections makes it easier to admire the man who could so easily express both vulnerability and humor. Being born in a working-class neighborhood, Don's family went through daily and sometimes quite hard struggles that really brought down to earth the kid and made his dreams more or less realistic in the early years. The boarding house of his mother was at the same time a job place and a refuge. And so Don was already being exposed to different people and situations, which might have trained his skills of observating later on in the form of his comedic characters. His ability to imitate, feel with others, and laugh at the common man and the whole world was slowly developing and setting the stage for his unique voice in the world of entertainment. The difficulties faced by Don Knotts remind us that behind many celebrated performers, there is always a story of survival. His transition from a weak child in West Virginia to a respected television star is a saga of the hardiness of human spirit. The hardships he went through made his laughter more profound, where one could see not only a deliverance through comical means, but also a victory of human spirit. This richness of experience and spirituality adds to the legacy he left behind. Knotts' early difficulties were a precursor to the strong work ethic he later developed, and which eventually helped him through an unconventional path until he finally made it to show business. Don, like many of his peers, did not just arrive in Hollywood, but worked hard through different minor occupations while at the same time acquiring the lessons of life. This then brings us to some surprising and unglamorous jobs that Don Knotts did before he finally went famous. Before he became a household name, Don Knotts lived a very different life, one filled with unexpected jobs that shaped his journey to stardom. Unusual jobs before fame. Before the spotlight found Don Knotts, he experienced a variety of unglamorous but formative jobs that revealed the humble beginnings of a future star. One of the more surprising roles he took on was that of a chicken plucker, literally pulling feathers from dead birds. This gritty, hands-on work contrasts starkly with the polished image we associate with Knotts today, showing that even famous comedians often start at the bottom rung. It's a reminder that before making a fortune on screen, many actors endure tough, ordinary jobs. His stint as a chicken plucker is not just a curious anecdote, but part of the broader picture of Knott's grounded early years. It highlights a young man who worked diligently to support himself, far removed from the entertainment world that would eventually embrace him. Experiences like these likely kept him connected to everyday people and skewed perspectives, fueling the relatability that made his characters resonate with viewers nationwide. Before fully committing to acting, Don also explored the world of ventriloquism, a common starting point for many comedians of his era. He performed with a wooden dummy he named Danny Pooch Matador, working as a comedic duo for several years. Knotts honed his timing, voice work, and stage presence through this act, which remained a significant part of his early career. However, while serving overseas in the military, he famously ditched the dummy, literally throwing it overboard into the South Pacific, a humorous anecdote reflecting his shift from ventriloquism to acting. The ventriloquist act presented Knotts as an artist who liked to play around and to change his ways, and these traits were the ones that helped him survive in the entertainment world. This portion of his life also brought to the surface his instinctive comic genius and the willingness to establish rapport with the audience. While ventriloquism might be considered an oddity in today's comedy realm, back then it was a lively art, giving the likes of Knotts a lot in terms of character and timing training. Simultaneously to these roles, Knotts was keeping his dreams alive and gradually getting closer to the world of television and cinema. His initial parts were small. For example, his leading role on TV was Wilbur Peterson in the soap opera Search for Tomorrow, where he had very few lines, but it was his first professional break. This stepping stone into the TV world let him taste drama, but at the same time he decided comedy was his genre, where the audience could see his shining talent. Along with fame came the experience that teaches the unpredictability in the careers of many artists. Sometimes success is the result of years of trial, errors, and odd jobs. The story of Knotts' rise from a chicken plucker to an Emmy-winning comedian is a story of no single path to fame. It's a tribute to the patience, hard work, and discovering one's distinctive voice in the midst of a crowded area. Although he is mostly remembered as a TV and movie comic actor, Knotts' great character and powerful behind-the-scenes work ethic were laid by these little-known early jobs. To view this context is to add richness to his legacy, and it is a reminder that the journey to success is often full of unexpected detours. These tales also personify the legend, disclosing the easy-to-overlook, warm-hearted, and somewhat difficult-to-reach origins of a loved character. The discipline and experiences from these earlier years fed directly into his military service, which carried its own unique stories and challenges. Military service reality. Don Knotts' military service is often clouded by myths and misconceptions, but reveals an important chapter in the life of the man who would become a comedy legend. Contrary to persistent rumors, Knotts did not serve as a strict or harsh drill sergeant in the Marine Corps. Instead, the truth is that he enlisted in the United States Army on June 21, 1943, serving until January 6, 1946. During this time, he was far from an intimidating figure. Rather, he used his talents to entertain and uplift fellow soldiers during the difficult days of World War II. Assigned as a non-combat entertainer, Knotts created and performed in a variety act called Stars and Gripes, bringing humor and relief to troops stationed overseas. His performances played a critical role in boosting morale, proving that comedy could provide much-needed laughter even on the front lines. This role highlighted Knotts' natural gift for comedy while serving a meaningful purpose beyond battlefield combat. His military experience was less about fighting enemies and more about championing the spirit of resilience through laughter. Knotts' dedication and service were officially recognized with several military honors. He received the World War II Victory Medal, the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal, an Honorable Service lapel button, and a marksmanship badge. These accolades reflected not only his time served, but also his commitment to excellence, even in non-combat roles. The rank he held upon discharge was Technician Grade 5, comparable to a corporal, a respectable status acknowledging his meaningful contributions during his enlistment. Military service was not the usual story of battles and hard times, but it still made Knotts who he was, and maybe even enhanced the traits he then applied to his comic career. The duty to amuse soldiers demanded a great deal of compassion, perfect timing, and the ability to reach out to people in difficult situations. These were the very skills that would later become the most useful ones during his television and film work. The discipline and the experience gathered were most probably the factors that led to the actor's instant professionalism on the set, something that those present usually remarked upon. Knotts' military service still gave him the opportunity to momentarily escape his difficult childhood surroundings and redirect his energy, building confidence and developing his acting skills through live audiences, to be more precise. There is little doubt that these years were formative and not only helped him to grow as a soldier, but also as an entertainer. The chapter in question deepens our comprehension of his journey from being a country boy to national recognition. Knotts' military duty was not at all traditional, but it was still a demonstration of his resilience and versatility, which are traits that were, indeed, essential for success in both the battlefields and show business. His capacity to crack jokes in the midst of hardships was already a sign of the comedic brilliance that would later attract millions. Military service like mine, though not so thrilling in military terms, only revealed his kindness and commitment to making people around him happier. Don Knotts was discharged from the Army in 1946, but by then he was already a civilian with a clearer sense of purpose and a stronger love for the performing arts. His military service had not only given him the necessary skills, but also the necessary positivity in life to start anew. He had given the discipline and experiences from his military years as the foundation for this new chapter in his life. Don Knotts' decision to leave drama behind and embrace comedy came after his early roles on television, setting the stage for the unique style that endeared him to audiences: early acting and ventriloquism. Don Knotts' entry into the entertainment world wasn't instantaneous stardom, but a gradual ascent that started with humble beginnings and self-discovery. One of his earliest ventures on stage was as a ventriloquist, performing alongside his wooden dummy named Danny Pooch Matador. This act was part of a comedic duo that entertained audiences for several years, offering Knotts a vital platform to develop his timing, voice control, and ability to connect with honest humor. Despite the charm of ventriloquism, Knotts ultimately felt it wasn't his path. It was during a military show overseas that he famously joked about ditching the dummy by throwing it overboard into the South Pacific. This early experience in ventriloquism helped Knotts develop the unique voice and nervous mannerisms that became his signature style. Working with a dummy required a blend of precise interaction and comic timing, skills that translated seamlessly into his later roles. The discipline learned from this art form refined his ability to embody characters that were both endearing and hilariously anxious. While ventriloquism is less common today, it was a respected stepping stone for many mid-century comedians. Following his military service, Knotts transitioned to television, landing his first significant role on the soap opera Search for Tomorrow from 1953 to 1957. 1955. His character, Wilbur Peterson, had only a few lines, but the role marked Knotts' first real break into professional acting. Despite the limited scope of the role, it allowed Knotts to gain valuable experience on camera and to test his adaptability as a performer. Notably, this was one of the few times he took on a serious role, something he later admitted he struggled with and ultimately chose to leave behind. Comedic roles were the only ones where he, excelling, and after his debut in the Drama League, Knotts' fortune-tellers found the genre of his choice where he thrived, as he possessed all the great qualities of a comedian. According to him, the soap opera was the only serious role of his life through all times, and he played it only professionally. Choosing dissimilarly among the main genres of the film world comedy was the only right one, and the one that his character was made for. He saw things through the nervous energy and clumsiness that the public loved to lose themselves in. His comedy choice was a wise one, and it became the making of his career and defined his comedic style of the future. Making producers and actors aware of Knotts' talent led him to the star-studded Steve Allen's show on the TV screen in 1959-60, where he was invited as one of the Allen's Theater Company members. The huge audience helped Knotts to not only demonstrate, but also to show his humor in a very distinct way, and to be acknowledged by the public at large. A variety show was the, to him in particular, comedy that he got used to working in different styles, and this developed his range. He had already built the first steps to his so-called forever role in comedy, where he could shine with his peculiar magic. During this early period, Knotts' mingling with the actors began to blossom, which later on partnered him with Andy Griffith. His presence on Steve Allen's show was where he came to be seen as an energetic and nervous person, attributes that would later charm the audience all over the country. This period was not only a development of his style, but also of his grasp on the timing and connection with the audience. As Knotts transitioned from these early roles to television stardom, he carried with him the lessons from ventriloquism, soap operas, and variety shows that had polished his craft and prepared him to steal the spotlight. Breakthrough on The Andy Griffith Show. Don Knotts' role as Deputy Barney Fife on The Andy Griffith Show became the defining chapter of his career and a cornerstone of American television comedy. After his stint on Steve Allen's variety show, Knotts was cast as Barney Fife, originally meant to be a cousin of Sheriff Andy Taylor, played by Andy Griffith. What began as a supporting role quickly evolved as Knotts' unique comedic timing and expressive nervous energy elevated Barney into one of the most beloved characters on TV. The dynamic between Barney's high-strung antics and Andy's calm demeanor created a comedic goldmine that resonated deeply with audiences. Interestingly, Don Knotts almost didn't stay on the show after his first episode because he began filming without a signed contract. Executive producer Sheldon Leonard saw Knotts' remarkable talent and intervened to keep him on. This decision was pivotal, as Knotts' performance quickly became the heart of the series, blending slapstick, wit, and an endearing vulnerability that captivated viewers. The show's writers recognized this magic and began to give Barney the major lines, shifting the spotlight toward Knotts without diminishing Griffith's starring role. Andy Griffith himself was profoundly impressed by Knotts' ability to bring humor and warmth to every scene. They developed a strong friendship on and off camera, with Griffith playing the straight man to Knotts' comedic foil. This partnership was unusual in its genuine camaraderie, with Griffith even allowing Knotts to steal the spotlight to keep the show's humor fresh and engaging. Their relationship endured the ups and downs typical of any deep friendship, marked by pranks, good-natured teasing, and mutual respect for decades. Daniel D. Scarese, the biographer, narrates not only the interactions but also the blackout of Griffith's and Knotts' video games, and Griffith having fun at the expense of Knotts, for example, waking him up with very loud noises from the corner of the room. while telling him the name Jesse, which Knotts hated, and that he was a Jesse. These friendly pranks depict the genuineness of their relationship, which was the driving force behind the on-screen laughter. Nevertheless, the teasing was a source of friendship that reinforced Knotts through the trials of stardom and the expectations of his role in the movie getting bigger and bigger. Knotts went through a significant change after 5 years when Griffith extended his contract for 3 more years. Meanwhile, Knotts had chosen to leave and negotiate a new contract with Universal Pictures instead. The separation was tough for Knotts, who later reminisced about his strong attachment to the show and his dislike for leaving it. They did not get along anymore in a work context, but the two men still had mutual respect and love for one another, knowing how instrumental their partnership had been in getting them to the top. The separation of Knotts was told through the character of Deputy Fife, who was finally going to the big time by getting the position in the police department of Raleigh, North Carolina. In reality, Knotts was thinking about the possibility of staying longer if he could get a part in the show's production. But he could not do this because of the misunderstanding about his offer, which led it to be rejected by Griffith, who was under the impression that Knotts was asking for a 50-50 split, while Knotts was actually only wanting a tiny part. This confusion not only got him out early, but also did not affect the shock he left behind. His work on The Andy Griffith Show had a big impact on his future decisions, firmly establishing a comic character made up of vulnerability, clumsiness, and sincerity. Barney Fife would go on to be closely associated with Knotts, being a prototype for many characters that he would later portray. The success of the show also demonstrated that a supporting role full of real talent could not only carry a series, but also lead to a cultural impact that lasts for ages. From the heights of TV fame, Don Knotts took the groundwork laid by Barney Fife into a blossoming film career, where he continued to define a new era of comedy and cinema. Film career highlights. After leaving The Andy Griffith Show, Don Knotts shifted his focus toward a prolific film career that allowed him to explore comedic roles beyond the small screen. One of his most memorable performances came as Luther Heggs in The Ghost and Mr. Chicken in 1966, a film inspired in part by one of his iconic episodes from The Andy Griffith Show. This movie captured Knotts' signature nervous charm and physical comedy, while translating his small-town appeal to a broader cinema audience. It cemented his status as a leading comic actor who could carry a full-length movie with ease. Even before that, in 1964, Knotts starred in The Incredible Mr. Limpet, which showcased his ability to blend live-action acting with innovative animation. Playing Henry Limpet, a man who magically transforms into a talking fish to help the U.S. Navy during World War II, Knotts delivered a performance rich in whimsy and warmth. The film premiered at the Weeki Wachee Springs Underwater Theater, famously the world's first underwater movie premiere, a fittingly unique event for a landmark film in his career. Knotts expressed pride in the movie, often recalling it as a favorite. His movie characters generally reflected certain parts of his TV character, with the notorious Barney Fife outfit even coming back in the movies, such as The Reluctant Astronaut and The Incredible Mr. Limpet. This kept his characters instantly recognizable by the audience, who mainly depended on his highly expressive face and the signature nervous tics. Knotts was not only a performer, he was a comic presence who could not be mistaken, and whose appearance was as much a part of his humor as his timing. The film career of Knotts was all about the subtlety and accuracy he used in his performances that could have easily been overdone caricatures. The fact that he made the characters so real and humanly vulnerable even made his acting resonate through the slapstick. Critics and fans all over the world recognized and praised his unique ability to mix physical comedy with emotional depth, thus raising the bar very high for comedians of his era. To be more precise, the image of Knotts, with his extraordinary personal style of dressing, was not a thing apart from the comic identity. The straw hats and the peculiar coats he wore were the visual signals that amplified the qualities of being eccentric and quirky, which made him attractive to the public. His talent for developing a very distinctive look not only made his characters more memorable and interesting, but it also made them very recognizable and loved right away. Knotts' participation in cinema not only lengthened his career, but also broadened his influence over the comedy genre, thereby stimulating the future actors' generations. His film's success confirmed that he could go beyond the small screen while still keeping the warmth and humor which the spectators loved. The movies he starred in continued to be the exceptions in the comedy canon, thereby illustrating the perfect mix of the innovative, the charming, and the classic comedic timing. As Don Knotts' career blossomed on the big screen, his personal life continued to be as lively and complex as his characters, intertwining the public and private in fascinating ways. Personal life and legacy. Off-screen, Don Knotts' life was as intriguing as the characters he played. Though he often portrayed anxious, bumbling men, he was in reality charming, witty, and charismatic. Married 3 times, his first wife, Catherine Metz, was the mother of his daughter, Karen. Friends and family described him as warm and playful, with a dry sense of humor that made him magnetic in person. Karen Knotts has recalled her father's romantic nature, joking that he was quite the ladies' man during his single years. This contrast between his public and private selves reveals a man of depth, capable of portraying nervous vulnerability on screen while living with quiet confidence off it. Despite fame, he remained humble, valuing privacy and focusing on his craft rather than celebrity. Knotts' genius in comedy left an indelible mark on both the small and big screens. He combined slapstick with sincerity in his acting of Barney Fife in The Andy Griffith Show, thus giving the character of the comic sidekick a new dimension. The role rewarded him with 5 Emmy Awards and greatly influenced the development of future comedians who looked up to him for his perfect timing and emotional warmth. The man's characteristics, nervousness, expressiveness, and his characteristic voice were turned into legends and made the whole comedy of lovable misfits thing. Knotts was quiet, but he was a king of laughter. His humility, commitment, and humanity made him loved by all, his contemporaries and the public. The comedians who follow his path, the ones who want to be funny and at the same time warm-hearted, are the ones who keep his legacy alive. Don Knotts gave the world unforgettable laughter and characters that still warm our hearts. His story reminds us that behind every smile lies a complex, inspiring human being. If you enjoyed this deep dive into his life, be sure to like and subscribe for more fascinating stories about the legends we love. Thanks for watching.